Welcome to yet another video where we'll be responding to some angry fanboy comments, aka the most fun series on the channel. Why? Because I said so. In this video I will be responding to some salty comments I collected from my previous video, which was criticizing Actman for spreading misinformation, lying and having double standards among other things. Be sure to watch that video to get the full context because it's a long one. And what do you know, since this is the Actman we're talking about, the fanboys eventually came to the video and tried to deflect criticism thrown at their lord and savior, the acting human. However, while that was expected, what wasn't expected was how Actman reacted to said criticism on Twitter, as I've been shown by some people. I mean, using Twitter by itself is already bad enough, but when you let it rub off on you, now that's when it becomes really bad. So let's take a look at these tweets as a little appetizer, shall we? Thinking about making a video addressing the criticism of some of my recent videos, like the ones I made on Yu-Gi-Oh! And arena shooters. Well, I haven't watched the Yu-Gi-Oh! Video simply because the thumbnail made me die of fucking cringe. But I hope to fuck he didn't say the game is dead. Cause man, there are some weirdo gatekeepers that make these games and their fanbases look like shit. Excuse me, but what the fuck? So apparently, if you criticize the Actman, you're just a weirdo gatekeeper according to him. Which is incredibly hypocritical considering all this time he has been gatekeeping the definition of an arena shooter in order to push this narrative that they are dead. So this really just comes down to projection on his end. Now, there's nothing wrong with him having his own definition, considering no one can agree to a single definition, and that it's pointless to even debate what the quote real definition is, since it will just result in everyone bleeding from their assholes. But if you're gonna have it, make sure it's consistent instead of having double standards. Which is why I even criticized the video. And just saying these games have a fanbase completely shuts down the argument that they are dead, because, and I said this in my previous video, but let me also say it here, when determining success on the market, there are only two things that matter: demand and profit. If a product, no matter how obscure or how niche, can draw in customers and turn a profit, then that product is successful by definition, no matter how much you wish it's not. It doesn't matter how you feel. If the revenue outweighs the investment, it's a successful product and that's the end of it. And then there's also this tweet. I still have yet to hear a competent criticism on what's wrong with the video. Ah yes, because there is absolutely no valid criticism. Nope, sorry guys, it doesn't exist because the Actman said so. Never mind the fact that multiple other people made response videos, which did a great job in pointing out what was wrong with the video, as well as other people giving criticism in general. But apparently, none of that matters because reasons. Other than pointless semantics, so please, do indulge me. You've gotta love the lack of self-awareness here. Your whole video was literally based on semantics of what you consider to be arena shooters, so you really have no room to talk. This is the perfect example of a pot calling the kettle black. Only Actman is allowed to play semantics with definitions of arena shooters and no one else. And there's a lot more shit I could comment on since this situation was so bad that people like G-Man Leaves got involved. But let's get to the actual good part, the salty fanboy comments. He specifically mentioned multiplayer based arena shooters, it's what his video was about. He did, but only when needing to prove the quote fall of arena shooters. When talking about the rise, he was more than happy to use games that were primarily single player with multiplayer as an afterthought, such as Marathon and GoldenEye, or single-player only games such as Doom 64 and Star Wars Dark Forces. Therefore, he wasn't only talking about the multiplayer-based ones, but about an entire genre, and when talking about an entire genre like this, single-player should not be neglected, plain and simple. And yeah, the genre has fallen off significantly over the years, with only a small niche audience remaining. This still doesn't prove how it's completely dead, as Actman claims, if the audience does exist. But even if, by some miracle, we were only talking about the multiplayer-only games, the existence of games like Halo and Team Fortress 2, which are arena shooters by Actman's definition, just those games alone completely destroyed the entire bullshit narrative that they are dead. Not to mention, TF2's player count is almost that of the latest Call of Duty game on Steam. And how long ago did Team Fortress 2 come out again? Yeah, case in point. He literally mentions modern Dooms and other single-player retro shooters' success at multiple occasions, singular. This video is reaching hard for any valid points. Well shit guys, I guess all my other arguments are invalid because this guy said so. But notice how he's only tunnel visioning on this one point. That's typically what happens when you don't even watch the video. You know how fucked game genre names are when every game you defend about being relevant arena shooters aren't arena shooters. They are going off Ackman's definition, which is what the entire argument is even about, because, like I said, arguing about what is the actual definition of an arena shooter is a fruitless endeavor. So yeah, go concede. Seriously, Quake Champions is like the only arena shooter made in the past 10 or so years. Why are you acting like the genre isn't dead? Holy shit, this guy must have been genuinely dropped on his head as a child if he actually believes this. But now I have to wonder, what defines a genre according to him? Because going off this retarded logic, I guess every video game ever released is its own genre, since Quake Champions is an arena shooter, but everything else in the past 10 fucking years is not, according to this guy. This has to be a fucking troll, like, holy shit. Hey, do you mind giving me a timestamp for his video where he says 2 monocular failures like you quoted in the thumbnail? Because there's no way you just made it up to get rage clicks like every other video on your channel, right? I guess this guy never heard of implications. But yeah, a slightly exaggerated title meant to get video in the algorithm. Send me to the gallows, am I right? I hate to break it to you, but something like Ultra Kill generally does better in the algorithm than something like Actman. And yes, I would know. It's also funny how he tried to accuse me of rage baiting when the video is literally sitting above 85% like to dislike ratio, which proves that the video was in fact not just pointless rage bait and was in fact made with the intention of providing valid criticism. But I'm sure this guy already knows it, and he's just that pathetic that he cannot accept the fact that someone would criticize his lord and savior. Okay, now prepare your ass cheeks because this next guy is so angry he forgot how to formulate sentences. You're really doing the same because you're biased, dude. You're the hypocrite here, question mark. You're comparing the wrong games. Single player indies are completely different from multiplayer AAA games, as he says. I think I had a stroke reading this abortion of a comment, like, what the actual fuck was this shit? Also, I hate to break it to you, but both indies and AAA games, as well as both single player and multiplayer, are all a part of the genre, no matter how much you wish they're not. So yeah, relax and cry. Are you mental? Now guys, call me a psychologist, but I think this guy is just a little bit mad. You know, just a tiny bit. But to answer the question, honestly, I might be after reading this next comment, because not only does this next guy have the worst username known to man, but he's also an Under the Mayo fanboy, who has been arguing with people in the replies on my previous videos, on top of being a straight up liar, which is never a good sign of a mentally stable individual. Well then, no delaying the inevitable, pray for me guys. Dude, are you seriously this pathetic? You literally just made up that quote, he never said that, or anything like that. Yeah, he just heavily implied it. Also, for someone with a Doom profile picture, you sure don't really understand the genre either. The arena shooter genre is about multiplayer, not single player, not according to the Actman, as I already explained multiple times. Now, having said that, in the interest of not contracting brain damage from this guy, I'm gonna skip this paragraph since he just pushes his own definition while the entire argument is about Actman's definition in the first place. Also, even if we're only talking about multiplayer, which we're not, cough cough Halo, cough cough TF2. Again, I find it funny how the Actman says that people criticizing him are the weirdo gatekeepers when his fanboys bullshit like this. Actman did make many historical mistakes in his video. Yeah, I think that's a bit of a fucking understatement considering pretty much every other statement was factually false. Yet, despite admitting to this, you can't seem to understand why I made my video. Yeah, spoiler alert, this guy later on ended up admitting to not even watching the video, so yeah, as if his credibility couldn't sink any lower. But your entire video pretty much focuses on a straw man. I mean bro, it's a little bit fucking hard to strawman someone when I literally play what the person says in my video, but go off queen, whatever helps you sleep at night I guess. Now this next guy might not necessarily be a fanboy, but he does bring up some hilariously bad points against me, so I thought I'd respond, so yeah, make your own conclusions I guess. But Takanta, you make several exaggerated points and even sprinkle in some ad hominem. And we're starting with Twitter buzzwords. Now, for those that don't know, ad hominem implies that the person in question doesn't tackle any arguments, but instead attacks the person. In my video, I don't use the little jabs as a substitute for my arguments, but rather to complement them, by either emphasizing them or for comedic value. Using them doesn't make my arguments ad hominem by default. I mean shit, how do you not understand the definition when it's literally in the name? Ad hominem, at a human. You say that he has a bias, then you have a bias against him. Literally fucking how? I mean, if me saying that he can have both good and bad taste somehow means I have a bias against him, then I'm curious. What does it take for me to not have a bias, according to you? Do I have to suck his dick? Is that when I stop having a bias against him? Seriously, what the fuck is even that point? With the use of ad hominem. Again with the fucking ad hominem. Like fucking hell, man. If the jabs bother you so much, just say so instead of pulling some bullshit Twitter argument. And you, at one point, also do not have a source to back it up. I mean, sure, if I fucked up, feel free to point out exactly where. I mean, shit. You say at one point, but never actually state where. Although, you can fact check me on any of my statements if you want, and if I'm wrong, whoop-de-doo. But honestly, compared to the Actman's track record, I think I'll take my chances. And this next comment is also from the same guy from before, after I replied pretty much saying the exact thing I said in this video. Call of Duty and arena shooters are literally nowhere near the same. That's like saying fantasy and fiction are the same genre. So remember how that one retard accused me of strawmanning before? Well, this is what an actual strawman looks like. Seriously, who the fuck was talking about Call of Duty? I'll let you in on a little secret. Absolutely nobody. Lee soy boy! Did that man trigger you? Is it just me or does this sound like projection on this guy's end? But yes bro, I got very triggered. I'm wiping my tears with the ad revenue as we speak. Doom and Ultra Kill are not arena shooters. Arena shooters are multiplayer games. Not according to the Actman, which is what the entire argument is about. And the funny thing is that this guy, along with everyone else who is trying to deflect criticism by tunnel visioning on the multiplayer, just proves that these fanboys either haven't watched the original video, and hence they have no clue what the fuck the argument is even about, or they are deliberately lying and moving the goalposts in Actman's place. It's extremely pathetic either way. The Actman, while historically wrong and himself not knowing the difference between arena shooters and movement shooters, he only got one thing right, that arena shooter games have become irrelevant. So because he's factually incorrect, it somehow proves that arena shooters are irrelevant? What the fuck? And has proven that even more people got triggered on his video. You gotta love how he just completely disproved his entire narrative. Because if arena shooters are irrelevant, why would people give him backlash for pushing such a narrative? Seriously, you cannot be this fucking stupid. Just because some YouTuber made a video saying your game is dead, doesn't mean you have to cry about it. I find your lack of self-awareness disturbing, considering you are out here literally crying in my comment section because I dared to criticize the Actman child. But the difference here is that I get paid to care. Meanwhile, what do you gain by molding in my comment section? And no, before you say it, Actman is not gonna fuck you. Maybe go play them and prove him wrong. Bold of you to assume I don't. If anything, the Actman got more people interested in these games. So Actman should be excused for criticism because the Streisand effect is a thing? 10 out of 10 logic there, I must say. And with that, we're at the end of this video. So I guess the moral of the story here is, Actman is right because he's objectively wrong, according to these fanboys. And to come back to the tweet Actman made where he is considering making a video on the criticism, honestly the best thing he can do in this situation is to just let this whole thing blow over. Or if he does make the video, he should just take the L because any attempt to defend himself will result in either doubling down, backpedaling or both, and neither of those are a good look. So yeah, be sure to like and subscribe to boost me in the algorithm. Thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.